Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints lose to the Ravens 27-13. Everything about the game was atrocious. The offense stunk. The defense stunk. Will Lutz did make a couple of field goals. I guess that was good, but nothing else was good. It was so bad that even the Ravens fans were the only ones left in the dome by the end, and they had basically taken over, so it sounded like a Ravens home game when the final seconds ticked off the clock. As a matter of fact, can you play that? Here's the final call on ESPN, and you could hear the Ravens fans just chanting the whole time.
I do think they're going to continue to get better. It's a good win for them before they go into their bye, and a really disappointing loss for New Orleans.
This is the first time this season the Ravens have outscored their opponent in the fourth quarter. That's been the problem. Tonight they close it out.
And you heard Joe Buck there say it. It was the first time all year the Ravens outscored their opponent in the fourth quarter, which is why, as bad as it was at halftime, do you realize the Saints in this ball game, in their first four possessions, I'm going to say this slowly, in their first four possessions, the Saints ran 13 plays. They stunk. Everything stunk last night. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't tackle Lamar Jackson. They couldn't tackle Kenyon Drake. It didn't matter. They couldn't tackle anybody. I don't even know who the receivers were playing for Baltimore last night. It didn't matter. And some Saints fans want to excuse it away with injury. Baloney. The Ravens had no Rashad Bateman. They had no Gus Edwards. They had no Mark Andrews. Marcus Williams is on IR. Everybody has injuries in the NFL at this point. The Saints stunk. There's no other way to say it. They stunk. Dennis Allen, after the game, can you play the first cut? Here was Dennis Allen on the loss to the Raiders. Anything short of we stunk is not acceptable.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing loss. I think you got to give those guys credit. I think they came in and played really well, had a good game plan against us. They made it difficult for us, really kind of in all phases. It's a good team that we played, and they were the better team tonight.
Yeah, and you stunk. Call it what it is. You stunk. This is the life of a bad football team in the NFL. It is, the Saints played really well against the Raiders. And the Saints have some talent, and there are times where they will play well. But to be a winning team in the NFL, you have to string together good performances. The life of a bad team in the NFL is the Saints. You win one, you lose three. You win one, you lose two. You win one, you lose one. Now you have to go on the road on a short week to Pittsburgh where you're a 2.5-point favorite, but you're so inconsistent and bad that the Steelers are probably looking at you going, thank God, here's one we can win. And I do expect the Steelers to win that game, by the way, on Sunday. There's not a whole lot that we need to discuss about the game. As I mentioned, first four possessions, you ran 13 plays. You had a 3rd and 1, and Roquan Smith just blew up the play. It seems like a pretty good acquisition for Baltimore. Andy Dalton missing Marquez Callaway on the touchdown pass at the end of the first half is embarrassing. It's an NFL quarterback who had a wide-open receiver in the end zone, would have made it a 14-7 ball game. And the reason that's relevant is because of what you heard Joe Buck say in that soundbite. The Ravens had been outscored in the fourth quarter in every single game. So the Saints, we've seen rally late in games at times this year. From the season opener against the Falcons, we've seen them push the offense late in games. So if you had gotten it within 7 there, you're in a ball game, despite as bad as it was. And your quarterback can't hit a wide open receiver. So you kick a field goal, you're down 14-3, and you never got closer. So there will probably be somebody, 50 years from now who looks at the box score of this game and goes, Andy Dalton, 19-29, 210, a touchdown, a pick. Not bad. No, he was atrocious. He was absolutely atrocious in this ballgame. The only touchdown he threw was the 41-yarder to Juwan Johnson with 4 minutes to go in the ballgame, which was a short pass that Juwan Johnson housed because the defense literally just watched him. They thought he went out of bounds, so they just let him run. That's how you got a 41-yard touchdown. 27-13 does not even begin to tell a story of this game and how awful the Saints were everywhere. You were dominated at the line of scrimmage on both sides, and then Eric McCoy went down in the ballgame as well. So Cesar Ruiz slid over to center. Calvin Throckmorton went in at guard, and things just got even worse after that. There is literally nothing good at all that I have to say about the Saints' performance in this game from any of the players to any of the coaches. It was all bad. Pete Werner got carted off, which is miserable. There's nothing good. There is absolutely nothing good. As As euphoric as yesterday was sitting here, today is equally as awful. So I don't need to talk much more about the game. Let's talk some big picture stuff. I already told you don't blame the injuries. Baltimore had plenty of them. I'm tired of hearing about the Saints' injuries. The fact of the matter is this is a bad football team. They're poorly coached, and they made poor personnel decisions. I'm not mad at them for being in, as I've said, perpetual win-now mode because they were pushing to win a championship with Drew Brees. They mortgaged their future. You bought on credit, and now the bill is due, and you made a lot of bad personnel decisions. You made bad draft decisions, bad personnel decisions. Chris Olave looks awesome. He looks like he's going to be a star, but he's going to be a star on a bad team, and that's unfortunate. I don't know why anybody is surprised by Andy Dalton playing as poorly as he did. Cincinnati bailed on him. Dallas bailed on him. Chicago bailed on him. All of these organizations kept bailing on Andy Dalton. It tells you he's not a franchise quarterback. And now Dennis Allen is trying to make him that. Maybe he's the best option you have, but I'll tell you this right now. If Dennis Allen is legitimately sitting here trying to convince us that Andy Dalton is the guy over a healthy Jameis Winston, I just don't believe him. He is. I think Dennis Allen is not being forthcoming. Jameis Winston has 4 broken vertebrae and a ruptured tendon in his foot. You cannot tell me that with what you've seen from Andy Dalton so far, he's a better option than a healthy Jameis Winston. The problem is you don't have a healthy Jameis Winston, but Dennis Allen has not been forthcoming about that. So now he doesn't really have any other option but to keep playing a bad Andy Dalton. You're a starting quarterback in the NFL, man. You can't miss that touchdown pass to Marquez Callaway. And listen, after the game, can you please play Dennis Allen, number 7, please? He was asked if they're still, he said at no time did he consider making the change. It was asked if they're still committed to Dalton.
I think this is over the last, whatever it's been, 5 weeks, I think our offense has been pretty good and moved the ball effectively. This was not a good game tonight, so we'll evaluate as we move forward. But I'm looking at this as we had a bad day at the office offensively tonight, and we've got to improve from it.
That is a horrible take from an NFL head football coach. If you're looking at this as your offense has moved the ball over the last 5 weeks and this is a bad day at the office, if you're being honest, then you're blind. The offense has moved the ball. I've said that. They have moved the football, and the defense had been the issue until the Raider game. But the offense moved the football not because of Andy Dalton. Alvin Kamara was a G against the Raiders. Andy Dalton cost you the game against Arizona. 2 pick sixes and an awful interception in the back of the end zone, and he was miserable yesterday. He's not a good player. If you need him as a Band-Aid, okay. Quarterback goes down, you need a series, you need a half. Like you had with Teddy Bridgewater, you need a handful of games. I get it, but if this is the guy you think is going to make plays for you to win games, it's not going to happen at this point in his career. He was that guy at one point in Cincinnati when he was a good quarterback. He was never a top 5 player in the league, but he was a good quarterback. He's got a ton of experience, and he's a very good backup option right now. But if you're telling me he's your best option on this team, I don't believe you. Period. Can I be any more clear? I think Dennis Allen is not being forthcoming about the severity of Jameis Winston's injuries. That's why they're sticking with Andy Dalton, but he's painted himself into this corner, and so he looks silly every time he talks about it. Because anybody with 2 eyeballs who's watched Andy Dalton play realizes he ain't that good. And I'm not sitting, I'll say it again. I am not telling you Jameis Winston's the future. I know definitively Andy Dalton is not, and you need to find out if Jameis can be. And if you've already made that decision because Dennis Allen don't want him to be the quarterback, fine. Then you're just going to have a miserable season. You're going to continue to plummet. You'll finish with a top 10 pick, and which you'll just hand over to Philly, who's the best team in the NFL right now. And you'll hope and pray that you hit on a quarterback somewhere in the middle round of the draft, or you'll become Indianapolis, where it's Rivers and then Wentz and then Matt Ryan, and you keep circulating all these retreads, trying to find something that hits, and you don't. You just delay the inevitable. And last night was evidence of it. So look, the Saints are going to win more games this year. They got enough talent. It's the NFL, and you're going to win. They're not going to go 3-17. They're going to win games, but you're also going to have awful performances like that, which is a reminder that you're an awful football team without much future ahead until you push the reset button and rebuild the way you built after back-to-back-to-back 7-9 seasons. How did you rebuild after that? Through the draft. And I get it. Again, I'll say it again. I get why they did what they did, and I was okay with it then, so I'm not criticizing it now. But the sooner you realize that window is closed and you got to start playing for the future, the sooner you'll get through this mud. Just acknowledge it. What's the old thing about cows, right? Cows running when the rain comes. You know what I'm talking about? You ever heard this? Cows run away from the rain, so they end up getting wet longer. If you just take it head on and run into the storm, you get through it quicker. Just take it head on. Take your lumps. Never thought I'd use that little cow analogy there. How'd you like that, Muso? Have you ever heard that before?
Had never heard that before,
yeah,
actually.
Cows,
It's good,
when
though.
they're
I
in the
like
field,
it.
cows run away from the rain, and so they end up getting wet longer because the rain's moving with them.
Of course.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're sitting there, you're just getting wet. Hey, run the other way. Run into the rain because it's passing as you're going the other way. You get through it. That's what I learned today.
There you go.
There you go. You got it. All right. Did I have anything else? Oh, by the way, the NFC South is still awful. So even in spite of the fact that you're horrendous, you're still a game out of the division lead. Short week at Pittsburgh. See if you can go get a win on the road. I don't think they will, but maybe they will. And maybe next week the Saints will be in first place. But it's not going to change the fact that they're an awful football team. They're poorly coached. Dennis Allen will not win anything of significance as the head coach of the Saints. He's a great lieutenant, not a great general. He's in over his head. He doesn't know how to explain it. It's just bad. It's bad, and it's only going to get worse in time. With brief glimmers of hope that'll make you feel optimistic, but there's the foundation is not there with this team, and it's not going to be until they make some significant changes. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.